What's going on, my good people? This your boy, Lap Up the Entertainer. This is me bringing you the official MEAC tier list of 2024. Okay, know that this was kind of late, yes, but better late than ever. But I wanted to get this to y'all. Be in tune. I will be grading Seek tier list pretty soon, but I have to get some extra stuff for that to be graded as well. Be looking out for everything else, soon. I'm trying to get that in as soon as before August, but if not, it'd be early August before band season starts again. So I'm very crunched for time, but I think I kind of bite off a little bit more than I can chew with all these other divisions. So I might not be able to get to those other divisions with NCAT and them, but and a couple other ones, but I know definitely the MEAC and the Seek I want to bring out there because I think that's what needs to be done. Now, granted, if one of these days when this is like, I'm getting paid for this, and then we might consider doing that extra, but I'm still gonna grade those battles though. Just want to highlight that as well. But we here, okay? So. We're going to be grading the official MEAC tier list of 2024. I have different categories, okay, that I'm going to be grading. So, just to let you know, we're going to be grading the best season. We're going to be grading who had the most power, who had the best songs, who had the best field shows, who had who had the best sound and was very clean, who was the most improved band, and the best battles of 2024. And last but not least, it's not really something to put on like a tier list, but it's more so highlighting improvements. Okay, so let's get into the action with this. Okay, thank y'all so much for being part of this family. If y'all like this type of content, please consider liking and subscribing. It means so much to me. Okay, so we got Howard University. Howard ended up with this season with 2 wins and 3 losses. Okay, how would I rate their season for this semester? How would I rate Howard University? I would rate them in the B/C tier. That's why I would rate them. They kind of go hand to hand on that, but I would say they kind of in the middle of that. We're going to talk about improvements and everything later on, but right now, that's why we'll rank them in the MEAC division. When we look at University of Maryland, Eastern Shore, there was no footage for them. Okay? When we go to Delaware State, to be honest with you, all I was able to get was 2 field shows with them, so they needed some battles. They didn't even have any battles, so I'm going to put them in the need more battle category. I just think that's where the cookie crumbled for them. Morgan State, they was able to at least have 2. Okay, where would I rank them? I'm going to rank them in A tier, simply because they only had 2 battles altogether that I was able to capture. One, but also they are very strong, very, very strong. As a presentation of that band, I was very impressed watching this band. I really enjoy the aesthetics that they put and brought to them. And shout out to them for being invited to do the Rose Bowl parade next year. So shout out to them. So I'm looking forward to definitely seeing that. And they definitely had put on a lot of great field shows for that season as well. So very good band. Very good band. When we look at North Carolina Central for a season, I'm going to put them above Morgan State. Reason why is because they had more battles, and second, they pretty strong. Very, very strong band. I enjoyed watching that band all together. I couldn't really spot anything wrong with that band as much. I just think that, they went against some giants, and when they did, they did crumble. They did crumble some. So and one of those giants was Norfolk. So Norfolk is S tier. Norfolk really put on a clinic when it came down to everything in the season. Undefeated season, by the way. Undefeated season. That's a tough band to beat. Tough band to beat. That would have been, that's if you can punch Norfolk in the face, that means you're really doing something. So that's a hard band to beat. So for the season, to me, they wanted the top. Okay. Underneath them, we got South Carolina State. I'm gonna put them at S tier because they had an undefeated season as well. Very, very, very nice band. They were 7-0. I think that's one thing too to highlight. They were 7-0. They was able to go to the MEAC championship, and they was able to handle business out there too. So very strong band, very, very strong band. Not that many true complaints about them. They improved over time as well, but they was able to hold it in the road for majority of the season. To be honest with you, they was able to hold it in the road for majority of the season, which made them undefeated. Not bad. Okay. When we go to Compton State, there was no footage for them. Okay. No footage for them. Alright, so when we go to the most power, okay, who had the most power out of the MEAC? Okay, we're gonna start at the lowest. There's 3 bands that do not qualify. That's University of Maryland, Eastern Shore, Compton State, and Delaware State. They do not qualify for this one because they did not, participating in band battles. So I couldn't really judge on their power on that. When we go to power, we're gonna give Howard C tier. Because they're a small band, I don't think that they really rank high in that also, but they kind of play with control, but I think there's some stuff they need to work on as far as that. We look at Morgan State, as far as power is concerned, I'm going to give them B tier. B tier, well, no, I lied. I'm gonna give them A tier. They had a nice little surround sound to them. These bands in the MEAC, by the way, they're not really bent off of power, by the way. I just want to thoroughly put that out there. A lot of these bands are not built for power. They built for being clean. Alright, so I'm going to put them at A tier. When we talk about North Carolina Central, it's a little different for that band. They are a little higher than Morgan State in my opinion. I'm going to put them at A tier here. Simply based off of power and their sound is pretty cool. When we look at South Carolina State, I'm going to put them right over North Carolina Central. Right over. They was able to get out there a little bit more with their sound because of their size. So I'm going to put them at A tier. When we look at Norfolk, I'm going to put them right just slightly ahead of South Carolina State. Okay? So here it is, ladies and gentlemen. This is their official power list of the MEAC, and this is how I feel about their power as a stronghold. Okay, so moving on. Now we're talking about the best field shows. Who had the best field shows of 2024? Okay, now best field shows of 2024. Howard actually did pretty good. They did pretty good from what I can remember. I remember they did. They had some interesting things, and I think that's what they was able to get their dubs at through their field shows. Me personally, they was able to also pull that on. What was that? So Battle of the Bands, Capital Battle of the Bands. They was able to do that at the Capital Battle of the Bands, and they're actually pretty strong in that category. They can actually break it down. So I'm going to give them a nice A tier on that. They take their time and energy with their field shows, so I'm going to put them at A tier on that. When we look at Norfolk, I have no complaints when it comes down to field shows, and they definitely up there in the rankings when that comes down to that. Everything that they present to me is fire. So I'm going to put them at S tier. Okay? When we come to South Carolina State, I would say that they are very strong, but they could be stronger. So I'm going to put them at E tier. That's just me personally. When we look at Delaware State, I was able to catch 2 of their field shows. Okay. Definitely need some help in some things, but they had the idea of, they got good structure. They have good structure. I just wish that they can thoroughly break down some things and, get some ideas. But I'm going to put them at C tier. When we look at North Carolina Central, they had a good way of running things. I'm going to put them right under South Carolina State. When it comes down to field shows and just consistency and an entertainment factor on the field, I'm going to put Morgan State at S tier. Simply because they are very consistent for the majority. Very consistent. I got a chance to see a lot of their field shows, and they bring it to you. They definitely do. So Morgan State can really kick some behind on that field, and that's the band to stop on the field if you can't get them going. So this is the official 2024 field show tier list for me. Weed 'em a weep, ladies and gentlemen. All right, moving on. So this is for the best sound and who was the cleanest band. Okay, not all bands, was the cleanest this season, but some bands improved over time with their sound as well. All right, so we can give that an honest shake. Delaware State, for me hearing them on the field, they have some aspects when there's some stuff that need to be sprucing up. I'm gonna put them at C tier. Howard University, they definitely need some work in that department. It's like when they're on the field, they can project, right, how the field shows are structured. But I just feel as if when it comes down to fifth quarter, etc., I'm going to put them at B tier. North Carolina Central, when I watched them, they did pretty good. They definitely did some improving on their sound overall as a whole. Over time they got to a level, so I'm going to put them at A tier. When we talk about sound for South Carolina State, their sound was definitely out there. It took them some time to get there as well, especially for me hearing them in the beginning of the season to the middle to the end. I'm going to put them at A tier, just above North Carolina Central. They just touched like slightly ahead in that, so I'm gonna put them there. When we look at Morgan State, I'm gonna put them, as far as sound, they have a good sound. I'm gonna put them right above North Carolina Central, simply because I didn't really have to complain about that, and their book is fire too. This is all about book selection too. So, their sound and how clean they are, etc. How did y'all book sound overall too? So, me personally, I'll put Morgan over North Carolina State, North Carolina Central. And South Carolina State, they booked, because I watched a lot more. They booked versus Morgan. I can tell. But Morgan, like I said, I was able to catch two battles, and one was just super up close, but I can tell that they got a pen. I can tell that, like, North Carolina Central's pen improved over time, definitely improved over time. When it comes down to power and all that good stuff, is definitely there too. But when we look at uh, overall sound, clean, song selection, etc., Norfolk is top tier. All right. This is my official tier list of 2024 on the best sound, best song selection, etc. All right. Wait a week. Alrighty, moving on. Now this is some bonus categories, some extra bonus categories for me, just to spark a conversation and see if y'all agree with me or not. But when we look at the most improved bands this season, I got to give it to North Carolina Central. North Carolina Central definitely did a whole lot of changing. they changed up. They start, like I said, they went against two giants and they definitely improved from the first loss when I was grading, and then coming across another giant and sticking in and punching them in their face every now and then, but they still had the upper hand, but they still held their ground. I got to give it to North Carolina Central on that. Second place, as far as expectation, as far as improvement, I got to give it to South Carolina State University. They definitely bounced back on the field as well. Field show definitely changed the tone, for them, because they was doing a little line drill. Now regrading their other field shows compared to what I saw at first, definitely was a change in their field. Their book selection got way cleaner. So those are the most improved I can say for the season. Alright, moving on. Now, here's another food for thought category. Best battles of 2024 in the MEAC division. This is my opinion solely. Okay? I feel as if the top band battle to watch was Norfolk versus North Carolina Central in the MEAC division. That battle was so entertaining to watch. That battle had me on the edge of the seat from start to finish. These two bands were going at it. I wish Norfolk would have been able to go against, like if I was able to get them to have footage against all these other bands, that would have been interesting to see. I would have loved to see what they would have done against South Carolina State, but I couldn't find no footage for that, or Morgan State, or etc. That would have been awesome. But we'll see what they look like in 2025. All right. So, second runner-up, we have North Carolina Central and Morgan State. These two went at it, and it was a 1-point difference in that battle. It was damn near a tie in that battle. These are the only two battles I saw that was, I feel like is well worth the watch. And really the battles I can really say that was, I can thoroughly get. Because all the other stuff, it was a lot of missing footage. A lot of missing footage on a lot of other things. So, but, I really enjoyed that. So, that's my official verdict for, band battles, etc. Okay? Alright, so we got one more thing. And this is the improvement category. So, let me do some adjusting here. Alright, we back. So, this is another food for thought segment of this video. This is just me talking about what needs to be improved for each band program. Again, this is my opinion. You can debate with me, but this is what I feel as if these bands need in order for them to succeed next season. Okay, you can bring it to the director of bands if you want to, but again, this is my honest opinion. All right. So, there's two bands that need content. That's University of Maryland, Eastern Shore, and Compton State. They're going to stay here, okay? I just didn't get any footage at all from them, and they just need content in order for me to give them, extra layer. When we talk about a band that need help in all categories, I think that Delaware State meets that factor. They definitely need some help in the field show to look cleaner. You know, they have the energy. They definitely do, but I definitely feel as if it can be cleaner. I haven't got a chance to really hear their book, but what I was hearing on the field, it can be some things that can be cleaner. You know, that's just me personally. That's not me picking on them. And this is a very small band, but I just feel as if that definitely can be improved. Okay. When we look at Howard University, Howard, me personally, they have it. They have that oomph factor on the field show. They have an intimidation on the field. They very good actually on the field. You know, I can tell they take their time on the field, but they definitely struggle in their book selection. Their book selection, their decision making, and them being clean. Okay. I think this band can be even stronger if they can really rectify how their arrangements in their book is set up, and then they'll be able to be up there, you know, because they can really put on a field show. They definitely can. I just think that, you know, overall, you know, they managed to do a whole lot more things, and that's why I was able to give them their dubs too through that field show. But they could have had a 3-0 record if their book would have been there when they went against Bowie. I recorded that, you know, and watched that. So I just feel like it could have been stronger. When we look at South Carolina State, this band definitely improved on a lot of aspects of the field show. Because they improved, you know, one thing I would definitely want them to work on, especially book, I know that they can improve over time, but I just feel like the field show can be even more crisper. That's me personally. I just think that if they're able to do just a tad bit more, working on that 8 to 5, you know, I think they'd be a force to be reckoned with in the MEAC. Me personally, like I said, they improve throughout the season, but I just feel like because if they was able to get it like that at the end, I definitely know they can get that at the beginning. Me personally, just to seal the deal, put the nail in the coffin. Okay, and you know, I seen another band that's top tier. I had no problems with is Norfolk. Again, no problems with that band. They did everything they were supposed to do that season. So no complaints. South Carolina State. Field shows. They definitely improved over time, close to the end. In the beginning, they kind of struggled, just a tad bit. Their book definitely struggled some. But you know, they definitely did a whole lot of improving. A whole lot of improving. What I would say and what I would have expectations for them, I would want them just to really work on their book more. Simply because I feel as if their book can really carry them a whole lot. You know, they can really get them out of a sticky situation. So maybe some things can be tweaked just a tad bit in the arrangement department, or you know, making sure that everything is delivered in the battle. Because I think one thing that happened to them when they went against North Carolina A&T is that they had the right selections, but it wasn't clean enough. You know, and I just think that was that oomph that they needed just to carry or at least tie up with NCAT. You know, that's the same thing when they went against Norfolk. They had their book together, but I just think there was some stuff that they needed just to be sprucing on before they went against Norfolk, and I think they would have been straight. You know, I think also what helped them in that, what hurt them in that battle against Norfolk is that they tore them up on that field, and so that was another thing. They came in with a lead. So now Morgan State, where did Morgan State lie? Okay, I only saw 2 battles out of this band. Okay, I would want them to have more footage, so I'm praying and hoping that they have more footage. But from what I saw in those footage, in that footage, they were very clean for the majority. Their book is there. Their pen game is crucial. their pen game is crucial. They would give a lot of other bands, I think they're up there with the pen with Norfolk when it comes down to that pen. Delivering for that pen, they up there. Field shows, I have no complaints about them. It's just every now and then they'll flop on something, and I think that's one thing too. It was a teletake in that video when I did grade them. It was always one thing. It was always just one thing, one shy away, and it's either was in the song selection or something that was going on with the arrangement. If it was a new piece, or it was a formation issue, or it was something going on with the dancers. But, it was just, but they was consistent. At all the field shows I graded, they always had a high score. And they have no low score. They had a high score. We talking about 28 to 29. They didn't score a perfect 30 from what I graded, but they was up there. So I'm going to say no problems. No problems. I just think that they just need to work on consistency. But, that's it. So this is my improvement list and what I feel as if these bands can work on in the future. This is my opinion. You can comment your opinion below, but no bashing your boy. But this was a thrill watching these bands. One thing I would really hope that they would actually bring me some more battles, man. And I know that they kind of pushed to really 6 of them, a strong 6. The other 2, I don't know. If they just had content or they had a media team, that would be perfect. And I would say talk to alumni, talk to some band members that's sick and shut in, and said they can record their band. And bring more people to your organization. I think that's another thing with Delaware State. They had more people recording them, and I think that was alumni that recorded those 2 videos too. But if they had more footage, I think I would be able to give them more incentive and what they can work on. But as of right now, content is a thing for those bands down there at the bottom. Okay. But, this is not me bashing any band organization or me showing favoritism. This is just my opinion off of data. Okay? So, I really appreciate y'all for tuning in to this tier list and this content so much. Again, if you like this type of content, like and subscribe the video. Really means a lot. For the people who want more content like this, please check out my SIG tier list or my swag tier list. That was in the past. I'll be posting that up. But the SIG tier list in hopefully a week or 2 weeks from now. Swag tier list is already up, so look that up. Again, like I was saying earlier, there were just some bands I could not develop a tier list because that's a lot of bands. And there's a lot of bands in the SIG too, so I'm gonna have my hands cut out for that one. So, but I really appreciate y'all for tuning in. I'm going to get up out of here, man, like I tell y'all always. Deuces.